Welcome back to Random Quest New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I show you see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhollow today. We spotted CJ there, so we already know who our visitor will be today. Fortunately for you, CJ, actually we might have fish for CJ. I always forget. I think it's we don't have bugs to give to Flick, but we do have stuff to give, fish to give to CJ. Anyway, I don't know. What should we talk about today? I don't really have anything particularly prepared. I was playing a bit of Mahjong Soul, I suppose, for the first time actually yesterday, which, you know, I talked about Mahjong ages ago. I mean, you could probably find a YouTube video about it. I think I explained all rules, so I'm not going to explain rules in this one, to be perfectly honest. It's kind of something I play with my family whenever we meet up, I suppose, over holiday times, rather than necessarily something I play recreational. But we'll get onto that in a second. Hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 5 PM on Thursday, March 3rd, 2022. Now for today's announcements, we are visiting up campsite. Well, I mean, could be fauna, but also I'm expecting to get the NFC tags very soon. So if it is actually fauna, I'll be like, well, okay, I don't know what to use these for anymore then. But honestly, that would just be so unbelievably improbable in the first place that I'd be willing to accept it as just a stroke of good luck. But yeah, I played a bit of Mahjong yesterday on Mahjong Soul or whatever. There's an event going on. Mahjong Soul is kind of basically just like one of the best Mahjong clients out there, kind of, despite the fact it's also a gacha game at the same time, which is a very sort of strange combination. Normally, really, that gacha games tend to sacrifice on gameplay, I suppose, and instead pump it into art, the art and the characters they have instead. But it was good fun. There was an event going on, and I was like, oh, I want to get my pools or something. And, I was playing some late night games with some of my friends, and it's a fun time. I always appreciate Mahjong because Mahjong is one of those very easy to play sort of games. I mean, obviously there is strategy. I'm not going to say there's no strategy to Mahjong or something. There very much is, and I am like a rookie probably at Mahjong. I know, of course, basic concepts and like broad level strategy, but I won't particularly say I'm like any good because I'm not, and I want to just lie to you like that. But yeah, so I actually played a little bit of it. Was it today or yesterday? It might have been yesterday actually. Now I think about it, I don't think it was today. And I was getting to think about it because the Mahjong Soul was actually using the Riichi Mahjong rule set, which is the most common one played in Japan, I assume. Not I assume, it just is, I think. And it uses like their own sort of custom rule set. But I was also thinking about it because the way I play, of course, when we play with like family friends and family, is we play like I don't even know what it's called, but it's basically in Mahjong. Basically, there's like specific patterns, I suppose, and you need in winning hands for you to actually be able to win a hand or not. But the way I play with my family is you just kind of win with any hand you've got. It doesn't really matter what you have as long as as long as you've got the right number and the right amount of like patterns in it. It doesn't matter if it's a valid pattern or not, you will win anyway. And it got me thinking about like house rules and that sort of thing, because I was also thinking about it in watching Northern Line playing like Monopoly, like I can't remember, it was a while back or something. It doesn't really matter, but Monopoly has like a huge amount of house rules which you never even realise. And like Uno as well is one that always comes to mind, because I believe in the official rules of Uno you can't actually new recipe, hello Colonel J, you can't actually put down +2s on top of other +2s, or +4s on top of other +4s. But in the official ruling, if someone puts a +4, you draw 4 and you skip your turn, I believe. But then of course that's not very fun. People would like to put their own sort of special house rules onto things, and it turns out that when someone plays a +4, being able to place your own +4 on top of it as a sort of like a, I was going to say Uno reverse card, which I guess would be fitting, but also incorrect usage at this exact moment. But as a sort of like deflection, you are, what's your name? I don't know your name, to be honest. Lucha. I was going to say like Luchadori or something, but I didn't actually know if that's your name. But you're very clearly based off of one. But you're not fauna, so unfortunately we have to give you a hard pass. Yeah, it just turns out it's a lot more exciting to be able to hold on to your +4. So whenever someone else is forced to basically have a +4, then you can play yours on top of it and sort of just be like, psych. You're not gonna get me today, and that certainly adds an element of excitement, I suppose, to it. But it's also interesting to think about what other sort of things are like house rules, I suppose, in Monopoly and that sort of thing. Like, I believe it's actually a house rule in Monopoly that free parking gets you the stuff which was like donated to the middle in the tax space, and when like not chance time, that's a Mario Party, where the chance and community chest spaces, when they take money from you, and instead of giving it to a bank, you put it into the centre. And if you land on free parking, you get those sort of you get the money that was accrued, I suppose, in the meantime in the middle. I believe that's actually a house rule, and then believe it or not, Hold on. I just randomly closed. I just randomly closed my Firefox. I didn't mean to do that. I was gonna Google house rules, the most common house rules in Monopoly. House rules in Monopoly, because there's an option where you can turn on like house rules. I suppose in that game, in the game that I was playing, and I was just like, wow, I didn't realise that was a house rule. House rules. Here we go. Standard video game house rules. Initial money. I mean, that's not very exciting house rule. Property tips. Speeding die. Adds a third die. These are not the common house rules I was thinking of. You can build hotels. Oh, there was also another one which I never realised, is that you can actually auction. I guess it's actually in the base game, so this is sort of like a house rule where it wasn't a thing, where if you land on a space and you can't buy it, it goes to an auction. Honestly, when I used to play when I was younger, never did that. We just did it if you land on a space, you that's the only time you can buy it. And I'm not going to say one way is like correct or not, because in the end of the day, these games are very, very much recreational games. As long as you're playing them and having fun, that's really the most important part. I suppose if you're going into like competitive Monopoly playing, which I don't think is a thing, but if it is a thing, you probably want a standard set of rules which are balanced and fair for everyone, and also, you know, can what's the word? Incentivize exciting gameplay rather than deterring it, or and not leading to like long stalemates or boring routine sort of games and that sort of thing. So, you know, you can start thinking more carefully about rules and that sort of thing. But it's interesting that sort of house rules, I suppose, of our interpretation of rules, of especially with Monopoly, because I feel like Monopoly is easy to talk about. Monopoly is a much more widespread experience. I think a lot of people are playing Monopoly rather than, you know, not many people have played necessarily other sort of house rules like, you know, Mahjong, unless you're you've known someone who's from East Asia or something like that, who has likely played it or that sort of thing. I'm just trying to look at the rules here while I'm also running around here. Properties on bankrupt. When a player goes bankrupt, properties that either go to a player owner auction. Yeah, when a player lands on unknown property, by default they can put it up for auction, but it can either be changed to be a forced auction. Oh, okay, so by default they can choose to put it up on auction rather than it being forced to. Oh, okay. Or simply pass on the property. That's the way we've always played it, so that's always interesting. Mortgage? Salary for pass and go, amount of money player collects for pass and go's default is 200. And also double salary when you land on it. I believe that's also a house rule. Oh, it actually says just underneath it, double set and go when... I did not mean to try and sell this. We're going to sell this one because this one's not probably worth all that much. And what's this? Toilet? If I land, i.e. on my movement, on go, income tax, free parking, payout, nothing happens by default. Yeah, that just like blew my mind. Free parking. And I mean, it makes more sense because it's called free parking. You would have thought that if you landed on it, nothing would actually happen in the first place. But, you know, the way we've always played it, was just it goes under free parking. And to be honest, I think part of it might have been because when I was younger, the Monopoly we had was not like the official... I was going to say Hasbro Monopoly. I'm not sure if it's sponsored. Not sponsored. I'm not sure if it's Hasbro in the UK. I think it might be Milton something. MB. Hold on. What's that company called? MB Toys Company. Milton Bradley, that's it. I think it might have been them or something, but we had like a Powerpuff Girls version of Monopoly, which is, I assumed it was like a trademark was like loaned out or something. I'm not really sure how trademarks work, I'm not a lawyer, I'm going to be honest, but I'm sure that the rules in there probably were not like the official Monopoly rules or something. They were ones that other people just probably thought were the actual Monopoly rules, and thus, you know, we got like sort of second-hand, third-hand information about what the official Monopoly rules are. Or not, I don't really know, to be honest. Max turns in jail before they must play bail. Bail amount to leave jail, default 50, these are fine, jail punishments. Players cannot collect any rent? I don't know if that's is that an actual rule? I can't tell which of these are actual house rules or not. Plastic token? SNES? What? It's your birthday. If it's your birthday, you get $20 from every other player. That's quite funny. More money. Exchange. Additional bills. Bankruptcy. No longer banker. If a banker goes bankrupt, the player with most cash becomes a banker. Why does it even matter who becomes a banker? Does it matter? Go. I don't even know what these house rules are. I know, I was just thinking about it because I was really surprised that free parking one was an actual house rule. I just thought it was a steadfast rule along with the Uno one. But yeah, again, I don't think I'm not sure if I've ever owned Uno. I think we definitely did own a Uno pack or something, but it didn't come with an instruction booklet, so I'm not even sure how we learned how to play Uno at any point from when I was younger. Of course, house rules become a lot more common in much more complicated games. You know, in D&D, house rules are extremely common. Probably like every single table you ever played at might have a house rule, and you know, any sort of game we have some sort of longevity with, you play with house rules. Like we used to play a lot of One Night Ultimate Werewolf, at least with my group of friends. I'm not sure what house rules we have in there, but we used to have these little tokens. I don't actually know what the tokens are meant to be used for, but we use them basically for, if you play them face up, to basically it's a House in the Follies, or whatever it's called. Not a House in the Follies. It's a proper painting. We actually need this one, I believe. I forget what was. Hold on. What's on? It's not called House on Follies, is it? What is a House on Follies? It sounds like a painting, but I feel like I just made it up. Proper painting. A Bar of the Follies. That's it. Not House on Follies. Okay, that's why it didn't make sense. Yeah, we used the tokens out there. They had two sides. One was a coloured side and one was a black and white side. And we used to do it, if you were claiming something, you would put it on yourself being the coloured side. And if you're accusing someone of being something else, you'd flip it over to the black and white side and put it in front of them. So you sort of differentiate between, you know, people accusing and people claiming, that sort of thing. Just to help keep track of things. I don't really know if that counts as a house rule. I guess it kind of doesn't. It's not really like it's a rule. It's just more like a way of playing. But I guess, even though it doesn't necessarily affect the gameplay per se, it is still technically a house rule. I'm trying to think what else would even be a house rule. I'm not really sure. I mean, there's always like sort of unwritten house rules. There was one we had in One Night Ultimate Wales where you can't make claims on like a sort of meta level in the game because it kind of ruins the game. Like one's being like, oh, I think I did my thing wrong. I played my action wrong. Because to be fair, it happened once. Like one of my friends did that as a sort of strategy, and then we were just like, oh, you know, it was very clever, but we probably shouldn't have that as like an actual thing going out forward and playing these games. Otherwise it's sort of just like, oh, I don't know whether to believe you or not, we should just sort of reset the game or not reset the game. We got a curse there, so we'll of course pay 10,000 bells to make sure that Katrina can purify it. I'm trying to think what other house rules are there. What are some very sort of common games that people play? You know, Ludo, I suppose. Oh yeah, it's about the one that like the bounce back, right? You know, where you're getting your pieces. I don't know what any of the pieces of the locations in Ludo is called. You might know it as frustration, you might in the UK, or you might know it as sorry in Northern America. North America. Where when you get your pieces back into like the home straight or whatever, I believe the official rules is you need to have like an exact roll to make it to the end or something. But the way we always played it is like if you overshot it, it would bounce back. So like if you had 2 spaces to go until your home base and you rolled a 6, it would go 1, 2 into a base and go 3, 4, 5, 6 backwards. So you basically end up 2 spaces backwards from where you were before, which I always thought was an interesting idea. I know we used to have that old like frustration game. That one might have actually been Hasbro. It might have been Milton Bradley again. I honestly can't recall. It was also terrible, that one, because it had, I don't know what this like mechanic thing is, but it's like it had these dice in like a little dome instead of just like standalone dice, which you like push down on it and it would like pop back out and roll itself, which was really cool when it started, when you first get it. But when you know you play the game a lot and the mechanic starts to break down or whatever, and it doesn't pop as well. Sometimes it doesn't roll, sometimes it gets stuck. It becomes not as smooth, and it becomes like, wow, I just, you know, could have just had like normal dice. You could have even had like a little circle or something in the middle for us to like throw the dice into. No need to have all these fancy like dice rolling things, or like, you know, the game of life, instead of having dice, it's got like a spinner wheel. Why? I guess if it can have a 1 to 10 scale instead of having a 1 to 12 like normally distributed scale. Now it's a uniform scale. I guess that's fair. If you wanted a different distribution of movement patterns in your game. So it's sort of getting out of a way of house rules. I don't really know what other sort of house rules. Wait, I'm trying to think of what other Monopoly ones. I suppose I don't really know the rules of Monopoly all that well, to be honest. Certainly makes things different. Not different, difficult to record. I'm trying to think. House rules. Landing on go gets you double. I think that's a house rule. I'm not really sure. I'm just surprised at the auction thing. To be fair, I think one of the way we used to play Monopoly was basically ignoring a lot of rules. Maybe because, you know, as children we didn't actually read the sort of like instruction booklet. It was a bit boring. Of course, nowadays I would certainly read an instruction booklet, but not. But there's things like auctions, things like mortgaging. Like, didn't realise you could actually like mortgage things in Monopoly. That was something I learned later on when, you know, I actually played with like other friends when I was like a teen rather than when I was a child. Didn't know you can mortgage things to get like your money back, of course, but you know, obviously you don't get rent. I don't even know if we played with houses or hotels, so I don't even know how our Monopoly games ever ended. We probably just like got bored and we're like, oh, you know, let's go do something else. I honestly have no idea how Monopoly games didn't go into stalemate or anything like that. Of course, the house rules we always used to have when we played Monopoly as teens was like you can make your own sort of custom deals. But, you know, me playing Monopoly, gotta say, not a very interesting game. It's sort of just like a time waste of that sort of things. But one house rule which is banned is you can't make this specific deal, which I made only for one game, and then it was subsequently outlawed because it was such an unpleasant experience, I suppose. It was basically, I'm trying to think. It was like I was trying to do a trade with one of my friends. And best friend is very competitive, so of course he wasn't like about to so easily like exchange things, even if it was just a set. He wanted something more out of it. So I can't remember the exact exchange we did, but it basically resulted in me being like, okay, how about this for an exchange? We exchange this, and then anytime you land on my property, you don't pay rent, and anytime I land on your property, I don't pay rent either. I also threw in a thing which was just like if it's just the two of us left, I'll just say you're a winner. Mainly because I don't care if I win or not. You know, I'll appeal. I'm not afraid to say it. I'll appeal to his ego just to get this interesting bet, this interesting deal through. I mean, he was like, I remember it very well because he's very competitive. So he actually, you know, analysing these deals and that sort of thing. He was thinking about it. He was like, you know what, I actually think that's a pretty good deal. And he was considering it for a long way up. And he's like, yeah, I accept. So then he was like, I think squarely in first place for a lot of that. And I was like, in second or something. I don't know. I had a lot of money, but I didn't have a lot of properties, and he had a lot of properties. So I was like, I don't want to land on his things and pay money. So that basically meant I was playing with like 4 of us or 5 of us, like I can't even recall. I basically no longer had to pay a huge amount of rent or anything. It didn't matter that he didn't have to pay rent for me because I had very few properties in the first place. I only had like a couple or whatnot, and I just had like that one set which I built up. And basically, as that happened, obviously with those two, the two richest people, I suppose, being in like a coalition of during the game of Monopoly, we just accrued more and more wealth, and the other friends who were playing just started like losing more and more money. So then every single time that they'd become bankrupt, or they had to pay something which they couldn't afford, I would say, I'll pay this rent for you because I'd accrued a lot of money, but the same deal goes for you. If I land on your property, I don't pay it. If you land on mine, you don't pay me. Or no, it might have just been if I land on your property, I don't have to pay your rent. That might have been the deal. Which might have been why I threw in the thing that if it's just us two left, you can be the winner. In the game, like when I say last two left, I mean us two not being bankrupt. But that might have been a deal I made, which makes more sense, I think, in my mind. So I was like, I'll pay your thing as long as I don't have to pay rent for your thing anymore. And they were like, well, I've got nothing else to actually do because, you know, it's either do this or become bankrupt. So of course they're forced into the deal. And then eventually it got to a point where I made that deal with literally everyone in the game, so I would have to pay no more rent ever in Monopoly. And it was great. It was great for me, you know. I suppose I'm all about, you know, well, the first time, okay, and I always say I'm all about sort of subverting the game expectations because of a lack of competitiveness. It's more like the first time I play a game, I'll play properly, you know. I want to see like the interesting see other rules work and see like what rules can bend and break and where you can like gain advantage of that sort of thing. But after you play it for a little while, it gets a bit boring, I think. I don't really care about like winning all that much. I want to do interesting things. So I start thinking about like, oh, what sort of weird like mechanics can I do? What sort of weird strategies can I employ and that sort of thing, and how can I make that work? And Monopoly is like, it's probably one of the most boring board games out there, I'm going to be honest. You just sort of go around and collect things. I guess it's nice to collect things in a certain degree. But when I thought of that deal, I was like, oh, this is great. It's just like, I'm basically, the problem is, obviously reflecting back on the enjoyment and everyone else, is I basically just turned the game into basically a game on my terms. Now, I basically became a banker who was a player. A sort of non-entity in the game. I'm like a sink of money and a source which you are forced to do if you are in a bad situation. Which, I don't know, maybe you'll just be like, oh, isn't that just kind of reflective of real life? And I suppose that's in some ways true, if a little pessimistic. But, you know, harsh reality we live in sometimes. Yeah, it was just a sort of interesting situation. And one sort of deal which is not allowed to be made ever again. And perhaps, you know, that's a bit indicative of why we've only ever played Monopoly one more time since then. Well, I did play properly. I don't think I came up. I basically sort of ran out of ideas. You know, that's when these sort of competitive games become boring for me. Is when I run out of like interesting strategies to try and employ. That's why TFT was very interesting for a while because, you know, first you start to be like, oh, like how can I get like advantages in this game, etc., etc. This is interesting, and then you know, how good can I get, etc., etc. Then I was like, okay, you know, once that becomes boring, I'm like, oh, what sort of weird strategies can I try to try and climb and that sort of thing. And then eventually, you know, you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, now I'm basically sort of like, I've reached my highest rank of that I'm probably going to reach, and I don't want to do any more. I've run out of like weird strategies to try, or I'm sick of strategies basically being like completely terrible. Unless they're the efficient ones, so, you know, I just stopped playing. Simple as that. Which is perhaps why strategy games don't hold my interest so much. As much, you know. That's why I like story games, because it comes, I suppose, to a conclusive end. It's not like I need to completely continue making up like weird sort of perspectives on the story or that sort of thing. And puzzle games have a definitive end as well. It's not like I need... Once you solve a puzzle, I mean, I suppose you could like come up with alternative solutions to, you know, try and sort of finesse your way around it to come up with creative ideas. But on the other hand, I could just like not... I could just be satiated with the puzzle I've solved. Speaking of that, there's a huge backlog of YouTube videos right now because I really wanted to play some Bad today, but then I was like, I've got a huge backlog already. Not just a Bad I think all games. I think it goes all the way up to March. No, not March. We're in March, obviously. I think it goes up to April. Let me see. It goes up to the first week of April. So I'm like, okay, I don't need to record nearly as many things as I've been recording right now. I could, but I'm not going to. We found our crafter. I suppose what we could do now is we should sell the things. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? That's meant to be something you're meant to say to practice an accent, but I don't remember what accent it is. Maybe it was Welsh. All I remember is this, I looked up a video ages ago of like how to do a Welsh accent, and it was, you probably seen it, I think it's the Howcast videos of that guy, he's done it on like every single accent in existence. And the only thing I remember is, John, what are you doing? I can't do an accent, by the way. Very, very bad at accents. Okay, maybe I wouldn't say very, very bad. I'm pretty good at my own accent. I think possibly I could do a bad French accent, and possibly I could do a bad Southern drawl, but I don't think I'm... Like, I don't even know what defines. Like, I don't even think I could tell you what a Scottish accent or Irish or, you know, Welsh or... Well, again, I was going to say German, but no, I couldn't recognise a German accent. Is, but I suppose that's a talk for another time. Actually, I think I've already had that conversation before. I also think I've told this Monopoly story before, but maybe you've missed it if you've never heard of it before. So I don't know, if you're a person like me and you try to sort of like not exploit Monopoly, I suppose, but basically if Monopoly is too boring, you like spice things up by doing weird stuff. Try and bust that out next time in one of the games, and have a deal, and then just, you know, instead of trading property, just like give property and be like, every time I land on your space, I don't have to pay rent. And if it's just us two, you're the winner. And hopefully, you know, target your very competitive friend, because then your very competitive friend will be like, that's a great deal. In exchange for his property as well. But that just means, you know, you may have lost one person paying all your stuff, but you don't have to pay. One, you got a sort of guaranteed victory, an easier guaranteed victory, because you can now team up with this person. And you're playing you two versus everyone else. Interesting, no? Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think about the house rules. I mean, I guess I could talk about D&D house rules. I mean, I'm trying to... like, the times I played in D&D have been, like... the first time was, like, which was my introduction to D&D, was, like... How many of us were completely new? Actually, maybe it was only 2 of us were completely new to D&D, now I think about it. It was me and my druid were completely new to D&D. And then, like, we had a cleric. She played D&D quite a lot before. The paladin, he played a lot of D&D before. We had like another rogue in the party who just left at some point. I don't even know if he was really into D&D or anything like that, but he certainly gave it a shot, and he stuck around to like level 3 or something, so fair enough to him. You might say, how long did that D&D campaign go on for? It went on to level 6, I believe. I think I still have my D&D sheets, which I can bust out at some point, but yeah, anyway, I forgot what I was saying. I'm hooked on a feeling. I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah, I don't think we had any house rules in that. But also, I was a complete newbie to the game, so even if we did have house rules, I'm not sure I would have been able to recognise them. Let's do the radio stretches as well. Certainly got to do that. Sorry, Amelia, to interrupt your singing, as lovely as it is. I do eventually want to get the emoticon, no, the reactions you get from doing this. What do buttons? Oh, Isabel's joining us. Is this like the first time Isabel's joined us? I don't actually know. The second time we played, I don't know if we did any house rules. Because it was also all 4 of us were new to D&D, I think. Okay, no, I was the only one who played D&D before. The other 2 players, I don't know. I think one of them had and one of them hadn't. And the other person who DM'd, I think might have played D&D before. I don't remember. I know the most recent time we played D&D. I also don't think any house rules. I started off with an extra feat, I think. That was about not an extra feat, an extra cantrip from the wizard's spell table. I don't know, that thing was complicated. I made a kobold bard or something, but I used the wrong sort of like kobold stat set because I just searched online. I don't have the Volo's Guide to Monsters. Apologies. And when I found the actual ones, and I was like, oh, okay. But that means I had to lose spells, and talk to the DM, and she was all like, oh yeah, why not start off with an extra cantrip? She loves a flavour, I love a flavour. I don't know, I'm losing it. I'm trying to think of what house rules there are. I know there's a flanking rules, because for some reason I'm still subscribed to the D&D subreddits, and they always talk about, whoa, this is the first time it actually started spinning. You have a body when I actually did it successfully. Yeah, I look at the subreddit still, and flanking rules always comes up as things which are bad because it just ends up people doing like a conga line or things. I don't know. I'm not really that familiar with house rules and D&D, that sort of thing. I'm sure there's more house rules in much more common games, so do let me know if you can think of any off the top of your head. Or maybe what house rules you had in Monopoly. Ooh, weird. Anyway, I think I'm going to round off this episode here. I kind of ran out of things to talk about, I'm going to be honest. But that was pretty good because I didn't have anything to talk about in the first place. But if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join the Dear Darling Discord, follow me to down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.